What did I say? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajadana Randana Yashoda Nandana Bhajadana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, titled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 7, the sacrifice performed by Daksha, and we're on 35, text 35. Siddhu Uchuhu Ayam Tvatkata Mrishta Piyusha Nadyam Manovarana Klesha Davagni Dagda Trisharto Vagado Nasamsara Davam Na Nishkramati Brahma Sapanam Vana Siddhuju Ayam Tvatkata Mrishta Piyusha Nadyam Mano Varana Klesha Dav Agni Dagda Trisharto Vagado Nasamsara Davam Na Nishkramati Brahma Sapana vanna. Sasmara. Siddha uchu. Ayam tvatkata mrishtam piyusha nadyam. Mano varana klesha dab agni dagda. Trisharto vagado na sasmara davam. Na nishkramati brahmasapanna vanna. Amrishta piyusha nadyam. Would you like to chant? Word by word translation. Siddhaha, the Siddhas. Uchuhu, prayed. Ayam, this. Tvatkata, your pastimes. Mishta, pure. Piyusha, of nectar. Nadyam, in the river. Manaha, of the mind. Varanaha, the elephant. Klesha, sufferings. Davagni, by the forest fire. Dagdaha, burned. Trisha, thirst. Artaha, afflicted. Avagadaha, being immersed. Nasasmara, does not remember. Davam, the forest fire or the miseries. Na nishkramati, not come out. Brahma, the absolute truth. The absolute. Sampanavat, like having merged. Naha, are. Translation. The Siddhas prayed, like an elephant that has suffered in a forest fire, but can forget all its troubles by entering a river, our minds, O Lord, always merge in the nectarian river of your transcendental pastimes, and they desire never to leave such transcendental bliss, which is as good as the pleasure merging in the Absolute. Purport. This statement is from the Siddhas, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka, where the 8 kinds of material perfection are complete. The residents of Siddhaloka have full control in the 8 kinds of yogic perfection. But from their statement it appears that they are pure devotees. They always merge in the nectarian river of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord. Hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is called Krishna Katha. Similarly, there is a statement by Prahlad Maharaj that those who are always merged in the ocean of the nectar of describing the Lord's pastimes are liberated and have no fear of the material condition of life. The Siddhas say that the mind of an ordinary person is full of anxieties. The example is given of the elephant who has suffered in a forest fire and who enters into a river for relief. If a person who is suffering in the forest fire of this material existence will only enter into the nectarian river of the description of the pastimes of the Lord, they will forget all the troubles of the miserable material existence. The Siddhas do not care for fruitive activities, such as performing sacrifices and achieving the good results. They simply merge in the transcendental discussions of the pastimes of the Lord. That makes them completely happy, without care for pious or impious activities. For those who are always in Krishna consciousness, there is no need to perform any kind of pious or impious sacrifices or activities. Krishna consciousness is itself complete, for it includes all the processes praised in the Vedic literatures. Om Ekanditivedandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Mukam Karilachalam Bhangam Nangayate Giram Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitarinam Vancha Kapadrubhishta Kripasandubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gauda Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Siddhas, translation again, the Siddhas prayed, like an elephant that has suffered in a forest fire, but can forget all its troubles by entering a river, our minds, O Lord, always merge in the nectarian river of your transcendental pastimes, and they desire never to leave such transcendental bliss, which is as good as the pleasure of merging in the Absolute. So today is Ekadashi. I just wanted to read something from the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, about Ekadashi. So this is, just one moment here. This is chapter 7, Evidence Regarding Devotional Principles, and it's under a section that's called Observing Fasting on Ekadashi. So this is what it says here. In the Brahma Vivarta Purana, it is said that one who observes fasting on Ekadashi day is freed from all kinds of reactions to sinful activities and advances in pious life. The basic principle is not just to fast, but to increase one's faith and love for Govinda, or Krishna. The real reason for observing fasting on Ekadashi is to minimize the demands of the body and to engage our time in the service of the Lord by chanting or performing similar service. The best thing to do on fasting days is to remember the pastimes of Govinda and to hear his holy name constantly. So that's what Prabhupada says about Ekadashi. Try it. Ekadashi ki jai. So here, it's a very beautiful verse. Siddhas are praying that it's an interesting analogy or interesting verse that they're saying, like an elephant that has suffered in a forest fire but can forget all its trouble by entering a river, our minds, O Lord, always merge in the nectarian river of your transcendental pastimes. So an elephant has suffered in a forest fire, because they got burned up, this and that, so then they enter the cool river and then they feel relief. It's quite an interesting thing to think about, feel relief. So similarly, they're saying that our minds are suffering due to misery, due to so many things, right? Anxiety. That our minds merge into the nectarian river of your transcendental pastimes. So the mind, just like the elephant, will go into that river and feel the relief, the nectarian pastimes. So on another note, but it's related, I hope, that's the idea. There was this fellow, or Prabhupada would sometimes say, rascal, or Prabhupada would sometimes say demon, or asura, or I actually heard, this is the first time I heard, I don't know, maybe Prabhupada said it some other times. I mean, Prabhupada says Satan in the Bhagavad Gita, he uses that in a purport, he says Maya or Satan, he uses that. Interesting enough, but in this particular, I heard the other day, he said, or like a devil, you know, he called it like a demon, asura, or devil, you know. So whatever you want to say, asura, demon, rascal, devil, whatever word you want to use. There's this personality, and he was claiming to be Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was his claim. And I mean, he was even aside, if you could just put that name on him, you know, asura, etc., on him, just for claiming to be Mahaprabhu, that's one thing. But not only was he claiming to be Lord Chaitanya, but he was doing so much other nonsense, which even in ordinary people's eyes would just, this person's it's just immoral, you know, wrong. He was having, you know, he was a guru, so-called guru, and he's having, not hiding it at all, just out-and-out illicit relations with his female disciples. It wasn't like hiding, it was kind of known, like, you know, he's the spiritual master, and yeah, Rasa Leela or whatever. And apparently, which is very bizarre, which it was considered the Mahaprasad of him, of Mahaprabhu, right? His devotees would bring like a plate, like an offering. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but he'd bring like an offering, and you know, he would apparently, with his saliva, he would, you know, onto the offering, you know, spit, and then that was considered prasad, you know. Anyways. So this guy, and interesting enough, he established a very, you could say from a material standpoint of view, a very beautiful temple. And where did he establish that? Right in Vrindavan, Sri Vrindavan Dham. It's still there. And you know, of course, as we know, Krishna, he just performs pastimes. The real Krishna actually just performs pastimes. It's pleasure pastimes, right? He doesn't undergo any pastimes that these so-called incarnations undergo. And that this bogus incarnations, these so-called incarnations, undergo. For example, this person who was claiming to be Mahaprabhu, he was in Delhi. This is what I heard. He was in Delhi, and he was in his bathroom, and yeah, he just slipped, fell, and broke his head, and that was it. And that's how he died. That was his pastime. And he actually died. He didn't die immediately. He was rushed to the hospital in a lot of pain and agony, and then eventually died. So yes, was he in Vrindavan? No, he wasn't in Vrindavan. He has a big temple in Vrindavan. He's so-called in Vrindavan, but he's not in Vrindavan. He's somewhere else. And all of his followers also, they're also somewhere else. They're not in Vrindavan. One devotee asked Gaur Govinda Swami, His Holiness Gaur Govinda Swami, Prabhupada disciple, they asked him about one of the important, the 5 aspects of devotional service, mentioned nectar devotion. And one of those aspects is to reside in Mathura. So this devotee was conversing with Maharaj, Gaur Govinda Swami, conversing. And Gaur Govinda Swami looked at him and he said, oh yeah? He said, Kamsa also resided in Mathura, which is, Kamsa was the evil, right? So this fellow, yeah, he was residing in Vrindavan, but he wasn't actually in Vrindavan. So this brings an interesting point that him and his followers, as this verse is saying, if we merge our mind into the nectarian pastimes which are there in Vrindavan, and actually we could tap into that or enter into that state wherever we are in the world. But this person, so-called incarnation and his followers, they cannot experience this verse. They cannot experience the relief that the siddhas are explaining here, that the mind merged into the nectarian river of Krishna's pastimes. So in other words, they are so close. They're there practically in Vrindavan. They're so close, but they're so far. Very interesting, how people could be very close, but so far. Just like we have 2 neighbors. We have neighbor here and neighbor here. And the other day, the neighbor, a man and a woman, they came to the Sunday feast, and they had to come to the Sunday feast because that was part of their school, their project. And this guy also, he came to the Krishna Lounge the other day. They came once, and that was it. And I'll be surprised if they come again. I mean, they're nice people and friendly and all that, and we wish them well, of course. But they have a lot going on, probably within their lives. Means a lot of things that are considered more important to them than Krishna. So again, they are so close. I mean, some devotees would die to live, right next to the temple, and be able to come to the programs and hear the classes and whatever, the whole thing. They would just be here. But these people, they're so close. They're so close. They're right there. I mean, it takes like not even a minute to walk here, but so far. Just so far. So similarly, this is the case of, we have that so-called incarnation, we have our neighbors. So similarly, if we look at ourselves, that we may be holding our beads in our hand, we may be standing for the beautiful deity of Krishna, right? We may be in a kirtan, or whatever it is. And we may be so close, so close to Krishna, but so far at the same time. It's quite interesting how that could happen. How that happens sometimes. And sometimes people, they wonder, oh, why do people leave? Why do people leave Krishna consciousness? Generally, because they had a hard time entering Krishna consciousness. Because if you enter Krishna consciousness, you don't want to leave. It's a wonderful place to be. But they had a hard time entering Krishna consciousness. Their bodies were here, right? But the minds weren't kind of here sometimes, maybe. And therefore all these wonderful verses that we hear, like the Siddhas praying, oh, the mind enters the nectarian river of Krishna's pastimes, just like a elephant that suffered in a forest fire and feels the relief. And so many wonderful verses like this that describe the glories of hearing Krishna's pastimes and the great, you could say, results. What to speak of, the highest, love for Krishna. So, and because they because they lack the faith, because of lack of application of their minds, and therefore lack of it, so lack of faith, right? That's one. Due to lack of experience, right? Experience with Krishna, and due to lack of applying their mind. So you have lack of faith, right? Why? Because lack of experience. Why? Because lack of applying the mind. And therefore, they leave Krishna consciousness, and it's hard to say that a lot of them were actually there, or even really entered in, like they're standing out in front of the door looking in or something. So, and interesting enough, it actually takes a lot of time, maybe, not necessarily, but a lot of the times it takes a considerable amount of time to actually enter into Krishna consciousness. And therefore people, they give it up because, it's taken too long. Oh, it's taken too long and I'm not entering, or they're impatient like that. So yes, we have to apply our mind, and that is, you could say, that is our austerity. Which austerity means that it's pain, right, in the beginning, but then, but over time, the austerity is actually very blissful, right? So we are not merely just into austerity, just for austerity's sake, but we're into austerity so that we could reach the platform of Krishna consciousness, austerity in Krishna consciousness. So that's very important. Now some may say, hey, this is a super basic point, like everybody knows this, A bhakta who's been in the temple for 3 days knows this. But it's actually interesting how, you could say on a more subtle, or a more deeper, on a certain platform, people tend to forget this. Why? I mean, it's the power of Maya, obviously, but and what do I mean by that is that, okay, fine, like I saw this guy just earlier this morning. I looked out the window and there was this guy. They have a rented place right here. Means they rent that place out, so you have all types of people coming and staying for a few days. So there's some guy there, and he woke up early. He was up considerably early, for people, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So he was out there, and what was he doing? He was smoking a cigarette. So he got up in the morning, smoked a cigarette, and he had his phone, and he was taking a picture of himself, Not smoking the cigarette, he put the cigarette to the side and he was taking a picture of himself. And I was looking at him and saying, oh, this is... So yeah, you have that guy getting up early. People get up early and they smoke a cigarette, and they don't bathe, and they smoke a cigarette, and we get some... Simultaneously, you get some fresh air and some stale air at the same time, Good for the lungs, 50%, get some bad, get some good. And then, so you got that guy, then you got my stepmother, my dad, God bless him. My dad, he remarried, and she wakes up like at 4 a.m. every day, it's in Oregon too. It's like, oh, it's so cold. I mean, it is freezing cold. I mean, for me, anyway, I just have a hard time dealing with that. I'm going to try to avoid going there in the winter by all means. But she gets up. It's cold. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is, 4 a.m. And what does she do? She gets ready, and then she goes on a jog. She goes on a jog early in the morning. Now, it's good, health, this and that, but you could add some more Krishna consciousness. But so you have her, you have our friend here, you know, the cigarette, taking a picture of himself. And you have people getting up early in the morning, you know, going to work and so on. So these are all, you could say, they're all doing what we do, in essence. We get up early in the morning, right? We get up early in the morning. Now the difference between what we do and what they do is that we apply our minds to something else. So this is something that, okay, austerity and Krishna consciousness, to reach Krishna consciousness, but a lot of the times people fail to actually perform the austerity fully. That they wake up early in the morning, but the guy who's smoking the cigarette and taking a selfie of himself, he's also waking up early in the morning. My stepmother, she's also waking up early. Some guy driving to Orange County is also waking up early at 4 a.m. So if we're not applying our minds, then that means we're not actually performing the austerity fully. And that means we're not going to get the result. So, in other words, we could be standing in Mangalarti and thinking, oh man, I'd really like to step outside right now and smoke a cigarette and take a selfie of myself, like to grab. Or I really like to, man, I'm in this temple and I'm looking at these, I really like to go on a jog right now, and just probably feel really good, the fresh air and, running, and my heart beating. Or, man, I really like to, be making some bucks, right, making some money. So our minds may be absorbed in all those things that all those other people are doing, but we're up in the morning. So as our being up in the morning, the point is we have to apply our minds to thinking of Krishna, to thinking of the spiritual master, to being in Krishna consciousness. That's the idea. And there's this wonderful verse. This is a very beautiful book here. Sri Prema Bhakti Chandrika, The Moon Rays of Loving Devotion by Narottam Das Thakur. But there's a verse, and it says, in relation to this, it says, the essence of sadhana bhakti is to carefully consider and follow the path displayed by the previous and present Mahajans, great personalities. So in the purport he explains that the present Mahajans are the 6 Goswamis, and the past Mahajans, the great personalities, are devotees before Lord Chaitanya. One should not neglect the practice of remembering the pastimes of the Lord, for devotional service should be performed with the mind as well as the body. So that's important. Is Srimati Radharani's lotus feet? You want to pass it around? I'm not sure where that's. Yeah, I'm not sure where the deed is. Maybe it's Vrindavan. It says Vrindavan there? Yeah, Vrindavan. So yeah, if we want to experience, we are so close. We are so close, but we don't want to be in the category of being so close but so far. Just like our, so-called incarnation of Mahaprabhu, so close, as a temple right there, so far. Our neighbors, so close, so far. Or we're performing austerities not fully, applying our mind, getting up just like everybody else, and not applying our minds to Krishna consciousness. So we want to be close and not be far. We want to be close and close. And we want to perform austerities fully, applying our mind. And then we will have experience, direct experience of these verses in the Bhagavatam, that we will get the results that as it's saying here, just as the elephant suffered in the forest fire, enters into the river, he feels the relief. So similarly, we could have the experience of our minds entering the nectarian river of Krishna's pastime and feeling the relief. So that's okay. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Yeah. Yeah.
In the same way you have everything. It's the same story. You became everything you possess the whole world or even the whole universe, and you still feel whole in the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, there was with George Harrison, Yadubar Prabhu and Vishaka Devidasi, they produced that movie with help of a lot of others, Hare Krishna. And then there's a nice clip of George Harrison who said, yeah, I had everything, and I was, in essence, he was saying, I had everything, and I met all the important personalities, and he said nothing was giving me buzz anymore. He said, therefore, I had to, I met Prabhupada, and then, he felt something, in Prabhupada's experience, Krishna consciousness. He felt Krishna. He said, I remember reading in Shamasundar Prabhu's book. It's a very wonderful book about Krishna consciousness and Prabhupada, and Prabhupada establishing Krishna consciousness in San Francisco and London, devotees helping. So he says that George Harrison said that when he was going to meet Prabhupada, he felt so nervous, and actually, he said the only person he ever felt really, really nervous was to meet was Elvis Presley. But he said he felt more nervous, to meet Prabhupada than, and he was a big person at that time, Elvis Presley. But anyway, so yeah, Prabhupada captured his heart, and it's wonderful, And yeah, there's also this. You were talking about this void in the heart, and there's this, there's this verse that in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he quotes it in his Bhagavad Gita commentary. I don't know the Sanskrit, but this English is a man that, for whatever reason, doesn't talk about a woman, but a man, but the point's the same. A man can have all the grains in the world. I was going to say a woman can have all the saris in the world. No, I'm just joking. Sometimes, a man could have all the grains in the world, all the gold in the world, and all the women in the world, and still he won't be satisfied. That's what it's saying. It's absolutely amazing how that works. And yeah, that's true. We see so many personalities like that prove the point. But sometimes the challenge is people don't recognize the void within their hearts. They, oh hey, well I don't need God, and I'm cool. I just try not to do good. I try to do good, but I don't really feel that I need to reach out to a higher power or anything like that. Like I met this guy. It reminds me of this the other night. I came back from the farm, and then I parked the van across the street, and I see a news station, Channel 5. And that's why I asked you what station you worked for. You work for KUSI, but this is Channel 5. So I see they're right here in the corner. So I go, oh, okay, let's see what they're doing. So then I go over there, and there's a Hispanic fellow, and he's dressed up like he's a news reporter. And I go up to him, and I say, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you up to? And he says, it's it's a slow night, and we're actually doing a story on the scooters. Because a bunch of scooters, electric scooters, and there's some scooters on the corner there, and the video cameras with a light. So then we started talking, and then he asked me some questions. He said, what are you up to? You're just taking a walk? I said, no, I just came back from the farm. I live at the temple here, Hare Krishna temple. And then he said, so what do you guys believe? Are you kind of like Buddhists? And I said, we have similar, karma, reincarnation, but, the goal's different, the process is different, and, many things. So he was a really friendly guy. And so then I said, okay, well, see you later. So then I came back to the temple and I got some books, because I got 2 books, because he was there and then the camera guy was there. So I go back and then the camera's guy there shooting, And then we're talking, and I give him a book. The other guy, he wasn't really interested, but I gave him a book and said, oh, thank you, man, I promise I'll read it. I said, oh, yeah, wonderful, great. But interesting, the guy, he told me, the news reporter guy, he said, you know what, my mother, she pushed Catholicism on me my whole life. And then he said, but, I try to do good, I try to be a good person, and to be quite honest, I don't, feel that I need to reach out to a higher power, and I don't feel like there's a void in my heart. It's actually interesting. So yeah, people think like that. But anyways, the guy was pious enough to take a book. Really, he was actually quite a friendly guy. And then, so I was there by his van, and then I said, so did this, are you going to show your clip later? And then he said, no, it's live. And then he showed me on his computer what he just did. And I was sitting there, I was looking at the news, because there was some news going on there. So I was looking, and then there was this, it said, they showed this scene that it was in a prison or a jail, and there was a woman on one side with her little kid, and there was a guy on the other side, and then they were talking. It was really, and then the guy, he passed the kid to the woman, and then the woman passes the kid to the guy, the prisoner, and then you see the guy, it's all on film, and it's probably like a 3-year-old, So then he, reaches his hand down the kid's pants, and then, the backside, and then grabs something, and then, gives the kid back. They're doing drugs, like drugs were in the diaper or something, So then this news reporter, he was there, and I'm laughing because he's kind of an interesting personality, but he said, oh man, he said, criminals are so stupid. He said, this is just so stupid. But so that's what I mean. I was bringing this to a point that this material world's like the prison, right? And that means, of course, people who are practicing Krishna consciousness, people who are devotees like that, then it's a different case. But everybody else, are criminals. It's actually criminal. So criminal means, by nature, just stupid. Now, of course, you could say there's intelligent criminals, but it's like you're still a criminal. You're an intelligent criminal, but you're still a criminal. It's still bad. So, breaking the laws of God, going against God, this is all criminal behavior. So, until somebody, you could say, until somebody reaches a certain, you could say, platform of Krishna consciousness and, steadiness and being fixed on the path, then that criminal, you could say, tendency, the criminal mind, right, deviating, it's there. And by nature, criminal means foolish, So we have to try to check that, those tendencies. And, by the mercy of the Krishna and the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, we could check that and, go higher. But anyways, this guy was nice, and he took a book. And although he still felt he didn't need to fill the void, he still took a book. That's great. So does anyone have any other questions or comments?
Looking for happiness, the glorification of this particular Akashi, mystery practice. Is it simply best for the
Yeah. Yeah, it says in the Ishopanishad, Krishna is the, I always like this, the self-sufficient philosopher who's been fulfilling everybody's desires since time immemorial. So, the Bhagavatam just saying, we have material desires, we don't have material desires, we have desire for we have desire for liberation. Whatever the case is, just engage in tivrena, intense devotional service. Because ultimately, yeah, Krishna, he's fulfilling everybody's desires. Sir, we're going to, excuse me, Hare Krishna. Okay, you can't hear. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I was going to